Hi everyone, hope you're keeping safe. So this is pretty exciting news. I have been regularly looking at the Eton website for more than a year, maybe 2 years, waiting for any kind of announcement regarding the replacement of their original E1, which is widely regarded as the best portable shortwave receiver of all time. We all know that there are some other receivers that ran the E1 close, including the most obvious, which is, in my opinion, the ICF 2001D / 2010, and that radio has what I think is equally the best synchronous detection circuit of any receiver I've used. The E1 basically just pips the 2001D overall. I can't remember whether the E1 is more sensitive than 2001 or not, but with sync, with passband tuning, etc., overall in terms of sensitivity, selectivity, etc., it was a little bit better than the 2001D, and I owned both. Now, I owned an E1, the original version, bought it from eBay a few years ago now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it. I think it was about £300. There's probably a video on my channel which actually says what it is. I haven't looked at it. All I know is that when I sold it for about twice what I paid for it, and the buyer still got a reasonable price. And the reason I sold it is because although it was certainly the best receiver in my collection, at least portable receiver, they were so valuable and yet so fragile in many senses, including the display. I was literally afraid to take it out of the house. It's not the radio you would throw in the back of a rucksack in the way that I used to do a lot with my 2001D, SW77, SW55, etc., etc. I just felt it was too fragile, and there was too much to lose if I broke it. So eventually, I sold it to a guy who he himself had sold me his Perseus some time before. So I sold it to him at a reasonable price and regretted it ever since, really. So when the news broke a couple of years ago that Eton were working on a kind of re-engineered version of the original E1, that was very exciting news for me, and also for a lot of other people in our radio fraternity, so to speak. The issue really is the new re-engineered E1, which is known as the Elite Satellit, and is apparently coming in 2022. This, what you're looking at is a screen dump from the Eton website. Is it a re-engineered version of the same radio? So effectively, although it looks basically identical, apart from a minor tweak on the branding, is it the same receiver inside? Which is, a lot of you will know at least, Eton had a lot of help with Drake, and that's one of the fundamental reasons why it was such a good radio. So if the internals, if the receiver hardware is the same, then this is again probably going to be the best portable of all time, because since I sold my E1, I've bought quite a lot of radios, including, for example, the PL660, the H501X most recently, and neither of those were as good as my E1. So to hear it from the horse's mouth, Eton themselves, that this is coming soon in 2022 is really, really great news. It looks basically identical, other than, of course, the original display backlight wasn't kind of red. It was more of a sort of bluey white. Yeah, really, really good news that that Eton are actually doing this. To be fair, and well, yeah, I probably wouldn't have bought the H501X if I'd seen this. That radio cost me £330, and it's a great radio, but I don't sense that it's any better a receiver than the PL660. Sorry, the PL880 I'm referring to, of course. You know, it's great. It's great to know that that this radio is coming out, but yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't bought the H501X, because although, as I say, a good receiver, very good, I don't really think it's fundamentally any different to the PL880. Perhaps unsurprisingly, but you know, you do these things because you wait a long time for a new product in our hobby. So yeah, so it'll be more interesting when we've got more information. So when Eton actually confirm that this is a completely re-engineered version of the E1, or maybe it's identical, maybe everything is exactly the same, which is good enough. The original version, I think, was assembled in India, and as I said, not that that's necessarily the reason, because you know, product quality issues aren't just about assembly and manufacturing, they're also about materials and also about component supply and component quality, etc., etc. But overall, the E1 didn't have a particularly good reputation for durability, so that will also be interesting. But fundamentally, if the performance of this radio is the same as the original E1, then I would recommend that anyone that can afford to buy one should do it, because it's going to be the best portable you've ever used, and I've used a lot of them, and it's probably going to outperform some of your boat anchors, tabletop receivers as well. So yeah, wonder what the price will be. There's no doubt it should command a pretty high price. They go for lots of money second hand, and if this is essentially the same but newer, more robust, more reliable, then you know, the sky's the limit potentially in terms of what they could charge you for it. But in the UK, it wouldn't surprise me if this radio was as much as, well, was twice the price of the 501X. So you know, you're talking about £500 or £600, even more potentially. But there are people out there that are going to buy this radio anyway. So yeah. So I thought I'd share that with you. Literally saw it today, and you know, as I said, for those of you that can afford it, if it is the same as the original E1, it's just a radio you got to buy. Unfortunately, that's just a law of the universe. You've got to get one of these radios and try it, because I'm certain that nobody will be disappointed. Even those of you that have owned the E1 in the past, it's just going to be a fantastic radio. Well, I thought I'd share that with you, and let's see what happens next. I'm sure there'll be more information coming out of Eton in due course, particularly on the specifications, etc. So yeah, once they confirm, hopefully, that it's the same as it's the same circuitry, the same receiver design as the E1, then it's all good as far as I'm concerned. Well, thanks for watching. 73.